So getting into who Lupus is of course known in Latin as the Wolf Queen herself, and she is the first NPC of Nazarick to truly anger and disappoint Ainz, and a lot of that comes down to who she is, how she was created, and her general belief is that she serves the supreme beings and only the supreme beings, and that is the kind of issue with her, is that anyone that is not a supreme being, she does not feel that she should serve or do anything for, and she has a very blasé attitude and can be kind of a little bit silly and doesn't think critical compared to, say, like, of course, Demiurge, Pandora's Act, or Albedo, where they are very smart and critical thinkers. Of course, there are other NPCs out there that can think quite critically themselves, but not to that degree, but Lupus, I would say, is a little bit more relaxed. And because of that, she has, of course, done some things that have truly angered and annoyed Ainz. And a lot of that has to do with a particular volume, the Two Leaders, or the Two Leaders arc, which, of course, is to do with Khan Village, Enri, and an attack that ends up happening on that village, of course, a little bit pushed and shoved by Ainz, to give Lupus a chance to redeem herself and prove herself in a test. And just before those events, of course, there was some information that came out by, of course, the inhabitants of Khan Village that have this small goblin army, wouldn't say really an army, but it's more of a squad, that of course found out some information about the Giant of the East and the Demon Snake of the West, and how there is a bit of a power vacuum going on because of the Wise King and his disappearance from the forest due to, of course, Momon or Ainz. And then, of course, you've got the dummy Nazarick that's popped up in the forest, and there's a lot of crazy things going on, and how the Demon Snake of the West and the Giant of the East are working together to force, of course, the goblins, villagers, out in the other areas, not in Khan Village, to work for them as fodder to take on this Nazarick dummy location. And this is information that is truly critical that Ainz probably would like to hear. But Lupus sees it as not really that important, and Ainz ends up finding out about it later on through other methods and gets very, very disappointed and quite angry at Lupus. Of course, he ends up apologizing, kind of brushing it off as he should have explained the importance of it. But to be completely honest, when you're assigned a job to protect a village and to maintain the safety of certain individuals, it's probably critical that you report certain information, like power vacuums going on because of things that Ainz or Momon have done that are going to affect the village, because of course Enri and all those are not going to be happy if the village ends up getting burnt down and they're the only ones left. So that is going to affect them negatively, which will also then in turn affect Ainz and his overall wishes for the use of that village negatively, which is why it is crucial that Lupus had passed on that information, but she did not do it. Now, again, that comes down to the fact that because she only wants to serve the supreme beings, she felt that she didn't really need to report it, didn't feel it was necessary, but at the same time her attitude is a little bit too all over the place, and that again led to, as what I said before. Of course, she had a chance to redeem herself and prove herself, and of course she is loyal. There's no chance that she would be disloyal, or that she is disloyal, or that she was deliberately going out of her way to do something against Ainz's wishes. It was just her personality, built by one of the supreme beings, the one that made her, is of course built her in such a way that made her in that way. And that's the thing about all of the NPCs throughout Nazarick. They are built with care and detail, and a lot of them have imprints, and that is something that I've talked about in an analysis videos, is that it feels like a lot of the supreme beings are very heavily imprinted. It's like a child. It's like them bringing up their child and them imprinting on them, and so they've turned out very much like their creator, whether that is because of how they've programmed it, or if it's some type of other system. When everything's been transported, they've just had that imprint on them. And of course you can see that with certain other individuals like Demiurge and Sebas and how they interact, and I believe the same is of course for Lupus as well. She is of course a fun, boisterous, energetic individual that loves eating. In the web novel, she wasn't meant to be so sadistic, but just be basically a glutton that's very happy, joy, easygoing, but not have the sadistic part. But that part was added in the light novels, where she is very much more sadistic, and of course during a full moon she's believed to be even worse again. Now, a thing to note as well, Riv Khan village is that the little squad of goblins, they do feel very uneasy around her. They do feel that there is something off about her, and it's understandable. They are, you know, a little bit more aware of her power, just how scary she is. I think Henry's a little bit more blissful and ignorant. The same with her partner, per se, is because of the fact that they feel so indebted to Ainz that they probably a little bit more relaxed around Lupus, because hey, I serve Ainz, so they probably don't feel that threatened or cautious, while the goblins don't have that loyalty to Ainz. They have the loyalty to Henry, because Henry is the one that summoned them, so that's where the loyalty lies. Now, another thing to also note is that, and it's an interesting topic to look at, is this whole idea of that the NPCs are imprinted or coded to never betray Ainz. But betrayal is a word that can be interpreted in many different ways. Betrayal doesn't necessarily mean going up against Ainz deliberately to go against his wishes or fight against Ainz or Nazarick. It can be something like, for example, just doing something that would disappoint him, and someone could see that as betrayal, like how I've talked about, for example, Solution and Sebas, and how Solution believed that Sebas betrayed Ainz in doing something that went against probably what Ainz would have agreed to, and Sebas probably maybe knew that, which was why he didn't report that. The same could be argued for Lupus. I don't believe there is any betrayal, but again, I like to bring up these kind of debates and these points of looking at different perspectives, because it is fun to look at different perspectives of how you can see a light novel series and go over what if, or a sort of a different way or perspective or different lens. So I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of Lupus's behavior as far as one of the Pleiades maids, and how she is very relaxed and blasé? It is also good though too that Yuri Alpha ended up also assisting later on in that particular volume, which ended up leading to Henry and of course her partner and her little sister going into Nazarick and enjoying the fruits of Ainz's labor, which is one of my favorite scenes because of the little girl and the way she just runs around Nazarick and just jolly, very similar to Lupus's sort of happy-go-y sort of attitude. And I really loved that because it allowed Ainz to relax and enjoy and relish on that young child looking at the glory that is Nazarick. And you know, Ainz been able to relish of, look at what my friends made, you want to have a look, I'll show you around. Of course, he probably didn't show all of the locations but he probably showed a lot of the fun places, like maybe like the library or just some of the floors where the maids are, just fun little places that she could enjoy and see the true glory of what Nazarick is and what the Supreme Beings built. And I think it just gave Ainz that moment of joy to be able to just boast about it, because it's something that Ainz really does love, is reminiscing on what he built with his friends and how they built that together, and being able to laugh it up and talk about the glory days. And having that moment there is just something that I really did enjoy. But again, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts about that particular volume, the Two Leaders arc, and of course Lupus herself and how she plays a role in these stories? So again, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more anime content, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.